Okay, week 2, the second video. So my first video was more or less the first time I'd ever been on rollers. The second video is exactly 1 week later, and I've been on rollers now 7 times at 20 minutes a session. So coming up for 2.5 hours. So how's it gone? Well, I'm certainly better. Oops. Perhaps I can't. Oops. No, I can't do that yet. I can't read and cycle on rollers. I was hoping I could have the notes that I made in front of me, but it seems that I can't, or at least not on the handlebars. That reminds me of the days before GPSs, when we used to drive cars and we would put the maps on the steering wheels so we could see where we were going. So you'd have this map or atlas on the steering wheel, and when you turn the steering wheel the map would go all sideways, but that was life before GPSs. So I'll just have to glance over a little bit at my notes as we go along, which is probably better. So, how's it gone after a week and with this 2.5 hours of practice? Well, that initial enthusiasm of being able to do it has to some extent gone, but not entirely. It's still a real buzz. One of the reasons for this video was to stimulate myself into doing regular exercise every day, because I'd made a promise on a YouTube video which goes out there and people can see it. And at the moment it seems like 20 people have seen it, though I suspect at least 10 of those are myself viewing it. But nevertheless, it's definitely worked. It has stimulated me to get on the rollers for 20 minutes every day, and that was part of the reason why I was doing these videos, apart from telling viewers, if they're interested, how one progresses on rollers as one goes along. So what have I found out in my 2.5 hours on rollers? One, the first 30 seconds or so always tends to be a bit wobbly. It seems to be difficult to start off with, but then you settle into a bit of a groove. I had the saddle very low to start with, which was definitely a lot easier, but I was getting these pains in my hamstring muscles. Whoops. And I raised the saddle, which helped reduce the pain in those muscles, but it made it much less stable. I guess because I was just higher up and further off the rollers. But I kind of got the hang of that now as well. I also put on some of my cycle shoes, clip-on cycle shoes onto the pedals, and actually didn't find this made a lot of difference in the cycling. Perhaps I'm doing something wrong, I don't know, but it did make it awfully difficult to get on and off, being very slippery on the floor and on the side of the rollers. So I've kind of stopped using clip-on shoes for the moment. You see, I'm getting out of breath. I can't cycle and talk. It messes up my breathing, but never mind. So, how did the actual cycling go? Well, as I hope you can see, I'm much more stable on the bike and on the rollers. And I can talk. I don't have to concentrate quite so much. I'm more relaxed, and I can look around at a clock or whatever. Looking around's not so easy. I don't think I could look behind me. I do 20-minute sessions. They're actually fairly easy, but I'm very happy with that. The last thing I want to do is go at it too hard, like a bull in a china shop, and strain myself. So 20-minute sessions at about 70% full capacity, I guess. And even then I do struggle with the 20 minutes. And at the end of it, the last couple of minutes, I have to resort to some technique to make time go faster. And as we all know, when we're exercising against the clock, it's the perfect way to make time stand still. So my special techniques are things like shouting to myself, I'm good, 1. I'm good, 2. I'm good, 3, etc. And I find this makes the last 2 minutes at least pass, and maintaining the effort levels. What else did I do? Well, cycling faster and cycling slower, and more or less still making a go of it. As you can see, I'm really glad I have these cupboards and table either side of me. It does stop me falling off, and my objective is to exercise, not to spend most of my time on the floor. So it's a bit of a cheat, but I'm happy. Being happy is important. Changing gears. I can change gears up, and down. These gears seem awfully clunky on rollers, they're not that bad on the road. Changing gears really makes a difference to the resistance. Did I need to spend 3 or 4 times the price on interactive rollers? Well, not as far as the basic resistance changing goes. You can just do that with gears. But if you want to do really interesting, clever stuff, then interactive rollers are perhaps the way to go. And to be honest, they're not that expensive. So, with the amount of time I plan to spend on them, the extra few $100 is well worth it. Moving my hands around, a bit like that. Even things like this take a while to master, just moving them around. This is the first time I've actually had them on the drops, and yeah, that still works too. So that's something that I've learned this week, more or less. Bit of balance issue there. It's nicest like this, with them close to the centre and on the top. Okay, that's the end of this week's video. You can roughly see what's happened after 2.5 hours. Do I feel better? Yeah. I feel very happy I've done a week's of exercise. My stomach muscles have more tension in them, which I'm really stoked about. Appearances, more important than real weight and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, a flatter tummy without really doing anything, that's great. Okay, so another week's worth of exercise. I stick to 20 minutes, but I'll try and alter the resistance a little bit and get used to the My eTraining app provided by Elite. Goodbye and have a good week.